Marshall Peak, Chapter 2408, I'm Innocent. Published by Divine.Dao Library. Translator, Salavan and Godbrandy. Translation checker, Pew Pew Lasergun. Editor and proofreader, Leo of Zion Mountain and Dale Ligerkeys. Everything happened in an instant, which left the onlookers dazed. Before the red-robed woman and the others could even understand what was going on, Jiang Zhouzi was already heavily injured. All the people from Immaculate Island were scared out of their wits. Senior, the red-robed woman murmured absent-mindedly. Just now, she heard Jiang Zhouzi call this girl, Senior. Senior Jiang Zhouzi is a First-Order Emperor Realm Master, so if he is calling this girl, Senior, does that mean that she is a peak Emperor Realm Master? Considering this, her tender body began to tremble, all her arrogance from before nowhere to be seen. You're quite decisive, Bing Yun quietly looked at Jiang Zhouzi, who had just cut off his arm. It didn't look like she wanted to pursue and kill him. It was unknown if it was because she was kind-hearted or simply because she did not want to aggravate her injuries. In any case, Jiang Zhouzi was indeed a decisive man. If he had not cut off his arm in time, he would have died there and then. Although he looked rather pitiful right now, he was at least alive. Senior, this Jiang had eyes but failed to see. I beg Senior to forgive my rudeness and spare our lives. Jiang Zhouzi resisted the sharp pain in his phantom limb and pleaded for mercy. Now, the lives of this group from Immaculate Island were in the hands of this woman. If she wanted them dead, they would all die here. Compared to one's survival, dignity was nothing. Moreover, there was nothing shameful in begging a Third-Order Emperor Realm Master for mercy. Bing Yun calmly gazed at Jiang Zhouzi, her face expressionless, causing Jiang Zhouzi to grow ever more anxious as he couldn't tell what kind of fate awaited him. After a short while, Bing Yun parted her lips and said, "Leave." Jiang Zhouzi was overjoyed as he hurriedly bowed, "Many thanks, Senior, for sparing our lives." He then shouted at his group of disciples from Immaculate Island, "Let's go." None of them dared to linger, pushing their strength to the fullest as they fled from this stretch of sea, afraid that Bing Yun might change her mind. Yang Kai didn't try to stop them either. He knew that Bing Yun was in no condition to deal with them. The enemy was still someone in the Emperor realm, and driving him into a corner wouldn't benefit them in any way. Since their group hadn't suffered any loss, it was best to avoid unnecessary trouble. Once the people from Immaculate Island were gone, Bing Yun turned her head and looked around, sighing with emotion, "I didn't expect to return to the Northern Territory." "Senior, is this really the Northern Territory?" Yang Kai raised his eyebrow. Bing Yun nodded, "Yes, this is the Northern Territory's Ice Sea. Immaculate Island is one of the local forces, and their overall strength isn't bad. Seeking Passion sect also belongs to the Northern Territory, and it is one of the top-level sects of this region." Bing Yun was the ancestral founder of the Northern Territory's Ice Heart Valley. She had lived here for a long time, so it was normal for her to know the topography and forces of this place like the palm of her hand. While speaking, she turned to look at Fan Xin and the others. "Do you want to go to the Master Sect?" Fan Xin and her sisters nodded repeatedly. Although they were Bing Yun's disciples, they had never been to Ice Heart Valley, so they naturally yearned for their Master Sect that their honored master had founded. Since they happened to land in the Northern Territory, of course they wanted to take a look. "Let's go then. I, too, haven't visited in a long time." Bing Yun smiled faintly. "I wonder how those little girls are doing." These little girls should be the first batch of disciples she accepted after founding Ice Heart Valley. Yang Kai guessed that many of them should be Emperor Realm Masters by now. Only Bing Yun had the qualifications to call them little girls. "Senior, your injuries." Yang Kai looked at her with some worry. "I just need to recuperate. I'll be fine as long as I avoid fighting," Bing Yun replied. Just now, although she severely injured Jiang Zhouzi with a single move, she didn't use much energy. The first reason was that Jiang Zhouzi underestimated her, and the second was the difference in their cultivation. As a Third-Order Emperor Realm Master, Bing Yun didn't need to spend much effort when dealing with someone in the First Order like Jiang Zhouzi. Even if she was injured, a casual point of her finger had been enough. Since Fan Xin and the others wanted to go to Ice Heart Valley, Yang Kai could only follow. If Su Yan came to the star boundary in the future, it would be great for her to join Ice Heart Valley. After all, her secret art and special constitution could be traced back to Ice Heart Valley itself. In addition, he planned to leave Lu Xian Yun there as well. The relationship between him was similar to the one between a senior brother and his junior sister, and over the period of time they spent together, they shared hardships and helped one another. However, Yang Kai had many things he needed to do, and he couldn't bring her along with him. In any case, Ice Heart Valley was the best place for her. She was a woman, the only kind of disciple Ice Heart Valley accepted, and her cultivation had reached the first-order Dao Source realm. Although she came from a lower star field, her aptitude was extremely good. The reason her cultivation was not that high was that she couldn't get enough cultivation resources, but if she could rely on a sect, her future achievements would be excellent. Cultivators that had come from lower star fields usually had good prospects. Although he hadn't had an opportunity to ask her about this yet, Yang Kai was sure that Bing Yun would not reject his request. As for Ling Yin-chin and her crew, Yang Kai had no idea what they planned to do. Considering all this, he turned and asked Ling Yin-chin, "Big Sister Ling, have you decided what to do next?" Ling Yin-chin thought for a moment before replying, "I'm thinking of going to the Eastern Territory." The Eastern Territory? Yang Kai frowned, unsure as to why she wanted to go there. Bing Yun, who was nearby, said, "You are Yang Kai's friend, and your cultivation isn't half bad. You can join this Queen's Ice Heart Valley if you're interested." Overall, cultivators in the third-order Dao Source realm were considered to be decent in strength, and with the right opportunities, such cultivators could even reach the Emperor realm. Such cultivators were welcomed in all sects. Still, Bing Yun said those words mainly for Yang Kai's sake. As Ling Yin-chin was trapped in the solitary void-sealed world until now, she definitely had nowhere to go for the time being. Ling Yin-chin said with a smile, "Many thanks for your concern, Senior, but I will have to decline. Junior's late husband comes from the Eastern Territory's Heavenly Wolf sect, so Junior wishes to bring his ashes there. That was his dying wish." While speaking of her late husband, Ling Yin-chin's face became gloomy. She seemingly recalled their time together, and her eye sockets reddened a little. Bing Yun praised her, "You are a woman of pure and strong feelings. The road to the Eastern Territory will be full of hardships, so you have to be careful. After you find a suitable place for your husband's ashes, if you ever need to, you are free to come back and join my Ice Heart Valley." Ling Yin-chin said gratefully, "Many thanks, Senior, for your kindness." With Bing Yun's assurance, Ling Yin-chin could return to the Northern Territory and join the Ice Heart Valley if she had nowhere to go in the future. "Let's return to land first," Bing Yun looked at Yang Kai. Yang Kai nodded and summoned his ship. Then, they followed Bing Yun's instructions and headed toward the closest shore. Compared to the solitary void sea, the ice sea was rather safe, so the trip proceeded smoothly and they did not encounter any danger. Bing Yun stayed in the cabin to treat her injuries while at the same time, Yang Kai told Lu Xianyun about his plan of leaving her in Ice Heart Valley. Lu Xianyun didn't hesitate and agreed with his suggestion. She was aware that she couldn't keep following Yang Kai as the difference in strength between him was too great, and she would just be a burden to him. It would be better if she joined Ice Heart Valley and cultivated there. After settling things with Lu Xianyun, Yang Kai went to look for Bing Yun to discuss this matter. Bing Yun didn't even hesitate to agree. In her capacity as Ice Heart Valley's ancestral founder, she could accept disciples whenever she wanted without consulting with anyone else. 5 days later, they finally saw land. Yang Kai called everyone on the deck and then glanced over at Bing Yun, forcing a smile, "Senior, perhaps it would be best if you disguise your appearance." A few days ago, Jiang Zhouzi and his group were fatally attracted to her, so Yang Kai feared that Bing Yun's beauty would cause them further trouble after they reached land. Hearing his words, Fan Xin and her sisters pursed their lips. Although they also had good looks, they paled when compared to Bing Yun. No woman was as pure and flawless as Bing Yun. Every man that saw her would feel the need to protect her and have her all for himself. It is because of all those sanctimonious scoundrels that covet beautiful women that our kind has so much trouble. Bing Yun coldly snorted, looking reluctant. Yang Kai wiped the sweat off of his forehead. "Senior, why are you looking at me while saying these words? I'm innocent." HMPH. Bing Yun snorted. However, she didn't refute his words. She was also aware that her beauty would cause them unnecessary trouble. Yang Kai took something out of his space ring and offered it to Bing Yun. "Junior has this mask. If Senior likes it, she can use it. This mask's craftsmanship is pretty good. Where did you obtain it?" Bing Yun praised as she looked at that exquisite mask. "It should have been made by Sang De," Yang Kai grinned. When Sang De brought him out to sea back then, he wore this mask. If not for the fact that Yang Kai was already aware it was him, he wouldn't have recognized Sang De at the time. Later, after Lu Yan and Hua King Si joined hands to strike Sang De down, this mask became part of Yang Kai's spoils of war. The hand that Bing Yun had stretched out retracted immediately as she said with a disgusted look on her face, "He made this thing. Did he wear it?" He did. Yang Kai nodded. Bing Yun glared at Yang Kai. I don't want it then. What is this little brat thinking? He wanted to give me something that an old fogey had stuck to his face. Which woman wouldn't be disgusted by this? Bing Yun made some hand seals, and her face started wriggling. After a little while, her appearance changed, and although she still looked pretty, it wasn't as exaggerated as before. Senior seems to be skilled in such matters already. Seeing Bing Yun so familiar with this kind of technique, Yang Kai guessed that she must have altered her appearance several times in the past. Bing Yun replied, how do you think I was able to wander by myself in the star boundary undisturbed all these years?